Good day, grade 10 learners. This is Teacher Lester, aka Zer Les, and I welcome you all to another fun and meaningful learning. For today's video, we will be talking about modern art, and this is actually discussed in the first quarter of your module. So what are we waiting for? Let's get this video started. Our lesson for today is all about modern and contemporary art forms. For us to be guided with our discussion, let us consider the following learning competencies. The learner tells the features of each artwork in the various art movements. The learner compares the characteristics of artworks in the various art movements. The learner evaluates the utilization and combination of art elements and principle, and the learner appreciates self-expression of finished artwork or output. Now class, let's proceed to the discussion process. In terms of technological breakthroughs, the world zoomed into the electronic age in the mid-1900s, then into the present cyberspace age. For social, political, and environmental changes, people suffered through 2 world wars, and people also experienced Great Depression of the 1930s. And there was also Asian economic crisis of the 1990s. It was also considered the modern-day plague for AIDS, and there is actually environmental destruction up to this day. And these are the effects on the world of art. Artists conveyed their ideas and feelings in bold, innovative ways. Again, grade 10 learners, I present to you the 20th century art movements called as modern art. There are 5 main 20th century art movements. These are Impressionism. Under this is Post-Impressionism. There is also Expressionism, Obstructism, Abstract Expressionism, and this includes pop art and op art, and the last one is contemporary art forms. To understand each of the 20th century art movements, let us discuss them one by one through their characteristics, sample paintings, and also the artists beyond these artworks. Let's start with Impressionism. Impressionism is an art movement that emerged in the second half of the 19th century among a group of Paris-based artists. Its name was coined from the title of a work by French painter Claude Monet, Impression Soleil Levant, in English Impression Sunrise. Here is the picture of the painting of Claude Monet, showing or depicting the atmosphere or mood while the sun is rising in a river. As you can see, the brush strokes are well defined and the colors are not well mixed, and that shows us the exact characteristic of Impressionism. Impressionism represents the viewer's momentary impression of an image. It is not intended to be clear or precise, but more like a fleeting fragment of reality. So in Impressionism, subjects in paintings are actually inspired by reality, but subjects are not represented in a realistic way, which is just a fleeting fragment of reality. Artists express their personal perceptions rather than creating exact representations. Take a look at this another example of impressionistic style or impressionistic way of representing subject. As you can see, the splashes of the ocean's water is represented by very evident brush strokes, and that represent or characterizes impressionistic way of representing subject. And these are the distinct characteristics of Impressionism in terms of color and light, everyday subjects, paint outdoors, and open composition. For the first one, short broken strokes are evident. Pure unmixed colors side by side, and freely brushed colors that convey visual effect. For everyday subjects of Impressionism, there's scenes of life, household objects, landscapes and seascapes, houses, cafes, and buildings. In Impressionism, it introduces painting outdoors. Previously, still lifes, portraits, and landscapes were painted inside the studio. The Impressionists found that they could best capture the ever-changing effects of light on color by painting outdoors in natural light. And in terms of composition, this is open. Impressionist painting also moved away from the formal, structured approach to placing and positioning their subjects. So those are the characteristics of Impressionism. Now, let us study the Impressionists, or the men behind this movement. The first one is Claude Monet. Claude Monet was born in the year 1840 and then died in the year 1926. He is one of the founders of the Impressionist movement along with his friends Auguste Renoir, Alfred Sisley, and Frederic Bazille. He was the most prominent of the group, considered the most influential figure in the movement, and Monet is best known for his landscape paintings, particularly those depicting his beloved flower gardens and water lily plants at his home in Giverny. Here is an example of his painting entitled La Promenade, and this was painted in the year 1875. Another one is the Red Boats Argenteuil. This was painted in the year 1875. And also we have Bridge Over a Pond of Water Lilies, painted in the year 1899. Aside from Claude Monet, we also have Edouard Manet as an artist of Impressionism. Edouard Manet was born in the year 1832 and died in the year 1883. He was one of the first 19th century artists to depict modern life subjects. He was a key figure in the transition from Realism to Impressionism, with a number of his works considered as marking birth of modern. One of his works was Argenteuil and was painted in the year 1874. Another one is Cafe Concert in the year 1878 and Rue Mosnier decked with flags in the same year 1878. And also his work is Bar at the Folies Burger and was painted in the year 1882. Aside from them, Claude Monet and Edouard Manet, we also have Auguste Renoir. Auguste Renoir was born in the year 1841 and died in the year 1919. Along with Monet, he was one of the central figures of the Impressionist movement. His early works were snapshots of real life, full of sparkling color and light. By the mid-1880s, however, Renoir broke away from the Impressionist movement to apply a more disciplined, formal technique to portraits of actual people and figure paintings. Examples of his paintings are Dancer in the year 1874, Mille Irene Cahendian Verse in the year 1880, and The Girl with a Watering Can in the year 1876. Aside, we also have Luncheon of the Boating Party in the year 1881. And because of Impressionism, there is the birth of Post-Impressionism, which is a movement happened after Impressionism. This is the use of geometric approach, fragmenting objects and distorting people's faces and body parts, and applying colors that were not necessarily realistic or natural. Now let us study the artists behind Post-Impressionism. First one is Paul Cézanne. Paul Cézanne was born in the year 1839 and died in the year 1906. He was a French artist and post-impressionist painter. His work exemplified the transition from late 19th century Impressionism to a new and radically different world of art in the 20th century, paving the way for the next revolutionary art movement known as Expressionism. Examples of his works are Hortense Ficquet in a Striped Skirt in the year 1878, Still Life with Composure in the year 1879 to 1882, and we also have Harley Quinn in the year 1888 to 1890, and the last one is Boy in a Red Vest in the year 1890. Aside from him, Paul Cézanne, we also have the very popular Vincent van Gogh, because up to this day we can still hear his name and we can still hear about his works. Vincent van Gogh was born in the year 1853 and died in the year 1890. He was a post-impressionist painter from the Netherlands. His works were remarkable for their strong, heavy brush strokes, intense emotions, and colors that appeared to almost pulsate with energy. He had most recognized works in the world. One of his works was Sheaves of Wheat in a Field in the year 1885. Another one is The Sower in the year 1888 and Still Life Vase with 15 Sunflowers in the year 1888. One more is The Bedroom in Arles in the year 1888 and Wheat Field with Cypresses 1889. And the most popular painting of all time, which is The Starry Night in the year 1889. Now that we're done with the first movement, let us now proceed to the second, which is the Expressionism. It is as a bold new movement. Expressionism is the use of distorted outlines, strong colors, and exaggerated forms. They worked more with their imagination and feelings rather than with what their eyes saw in the physical world. I am talking about the artists. And these are the expressionist art movements. First, Primitivism. Second one is Fauvism. Third one is Dadaism. Fourth one is Surrealism. And fifth one is Social Realism. To understand about these sub-movements of expressionism, let us discuss them one by one. First one is Fauvism. It uses bold, vibrant colors and visual distortions. Example of this is Les Fauves or Wild Beast. Here is an example of a picture that shows Fauvism. It is entitled as The Blue Window, and this was painted by Henri Matisse in the year 1911. Another one is Woman with Hat, still a painting of Henri Matisse in the year 1905. The second sub-movement is Dadaism. It is characterized by dream fantasies, memory images, and visual tricks and fantasies. Although the works appeared playful, the movement arose from the pain that a group of European artists felt after the suffering brought by World War I. Wishing to protest against the civilization that had brought on such horrors, these artists rebelled against established norms and authorities and against the traditional styles in art. They chose the term for hobby horse to refer to their new non-style. Examples of Dadaism are I and the Village by Marc Chagall in the year 1911, and we also have Melancholy and Mystery of a Street by Giorgio de Chirico in the year 1914. Another sub-movement of expressionism is the Surrealism. It depicts an illogical, subconscious dream world beyond the logical, conscious physical one. Surrealism means super realism, with its artworks clearly expressing a departure from reality, as though the artists were dreaming, seeing illusions, or experiencing an altered mental state. Example of Surrealism is The Persistence of Memory by Salvador Dali. And we also have Diana, Paul Klee in the year 1932, and Personages with Star by Joan Miro in the year 1933. Another sub-movement of expressionism is social realism, and it expresses the artist's role in social reform. Artists use their works to protest against the injustices, inequalities, immorality, and ugliness of the human condition. And it addressed different issues in the hope of raising people's awareness and pushing society to seek reforms. Example of paintings that show social realism are Miner's Wives by Ben Shahn in the year 1948, and also Guernica by Pablo Picasso in the year 1937. Taking a look at the Miner's Wives painting, out against the Zardoz continuous faced coal miners after a tragic accident killed 111 workers in Illinois in 1947, leaving their wives and children in mourning. And for Guernica, It was recognized as the most monumental and comprehensive statement of social realism against filling one wall of the Spanish pavilion at the 1937 World's Fair in Paris. It was Picasso's outcry against the German air raid of town of Guernica in his native Spain. And the last subcomponent of expressionism is Neoprimitivism. It incorporated elements from the native arts of South Africa's Sea Islanders and the woodings of African tribes. Among the Western artists who adopted these elements was Amedeo Modigliani, who used the oval faces and elongated shapes of African art in both his sculptures and paintings. One example of Neoprimitivism sculpture is Head in the year 1913 and also Yellow Sweater in the year 1919. We shall now proceed to the third movement of modern art, which is Obstructionism. Obstructionism is characterized as exaggerated, is simplified, or distorted. Its compositions exist with a degree of independence from differences in the world. While Expressionism was emotional, Obstructionism was logical and rational. It involves analyzing, detaching, selecting, and simplifying. Artists reduce a scene into geometrical shapes, patterns, lines, angles, textures, and swirls of color. The resulting works range from representational abstractionism, depicting still recognizable, to pure abstractionism where no recognizable subject could be discerned. Here is the perfect example of abstractionism, which is entitled Oval Still Life or Le Violon by George Braque in the year 1940. Abstractionism has subcomponents. These are Cubism, futurism, mechanical style, and non-objectivism. First to discuss is Cubism. Artworks in Cubism were a play of planes and angles on a flat surface, called cubes. A sense of imbalance and misplacement that created immediate visual impact. Example is The Three Musicians by Picasso in the year 1921. Another one is Girl Before a Mirror by Picasso, and it was painted in the year 1932. Futurism began in Italy in the early 1900s. Arts were created for a fast-paced, machine-propelled age. So this is the second sub-movement of Obstructionism. Example of this is Armored Train by Gino Severini, and this was painted in the year 1915. Another sub-movement of Obstructionism is Mechanical Style. This is the result of the Futurist movement. Basic forms such as planes, cones, spheres, and cylinders all fit together precisely and neatly in their appointed places. Example of this is The City by Fernand Léger in the year 1990. And last but not the least, non-objectivism as a subcomponent of Obstructionism. It is from the very term non-object, it does not use figures. Lines, shapes, and colors were used in a cool, impersonal approach that aimed for balance, unity, and stability. It is also known as concrete art. An example of this is this picture. This is entitled as The New York City by Piet Mondrian, and this was painted in the year 1942. The fourth movement of modern art is the abstract expressionism. There are sub-movements of abstract expressionism. These are action painting and color-filled painting. In action painting, the techniques could be splattering, squirting, and dribbling paint with no pre-planned design. Example of this is The Autumn Rhythm by Jackson Pollock and was painted in the year 1950. Another sub-movement is color-filled painting. It uses different color saturations, purity, vividness, intensity to create desired effects. And here is a perfect example of color-filled painting, which is a pure red object. This is the Vir Heroicus Sublimis and was painted by Barney Newman, and this was in the years 1950 to 1951. Another one is Magenta, Black, Green on Orange by Mark Rothko and was painted in the year 1949. Along with abstract expressionism is the pop art and the op art. The difference of the two is very easy to remember and easy to analyze by its and forms. For pop art, distinct characteristics for a range of work from painting to posters, collages, 3D assemblages, and installations. And for inspirations or subjects, advertisements, it's used for celebrities, billboards, and comic strips. And for op art, the distinct characteristics are of action painting with the action taking place in the viewer's eye, and as the eye moved over a different segments of the image, perfectly stable components appeared to shift back and forth. Examples of these movements are, on the left side, it's Marilyn Monroe's image with saying wow, and we also have another on the right side, it's Plastic Man-like skin image with black and white colors. So that's the op art that gives us optical illusion when observing it. We will now proceed to the last movement of modern art, which is contemporary art forms. There are two types of contemporary art forms or sub-movements in contemporary art forms. The first one is installation art and the second one is performance art. For installation art, it uses sculptural materials and other media to modify the viewer's experience in a particular space, usually or even larger. Installation can be constructed in everyday public or private spaces, both in indoor and out. While for performance art, the actions of the performers might constitute work. It can include activities such as juggling and gymnastics. Here are the examples of contemporary art forms showing on the left side is the installation art and on the right side is the performance art. And that's all for today's discussion. Should you have clarifications or questions, you can PM your teacher. Now let me give you your performance task for today's topic. You choose one art movement. Create a simple artwork by applying its distinct characteristics. Make use of any available art materials you have at home. Lay your output out in MS Word and make a simple explanation of your work below your artwork. Be creative and do not forget to give a title to your work. Submit your output to your teacher through Google Classroom. That's all for today, class, and thank you so much for listening and watching this video. I hope that you have learned a lot from modern art. Enjoy watching and enjoy more in doing your activity. If you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for you to be updated of new uploaded videos. So that's all for today, and see you all on my next video. This is Teacher Lester saying, let's dream and make it. Have goodbye, grade 10 learners.